I am Nova Spencer, 34 years old, and until last Monday, I was the lead engineer at Tech Dynamics for 16 years. My entire adult life was dedicated to building this company from a struggling startup to a billion-dollar enterprise. When Marcus called me into his office, I never imagined hearing those words. "You are done here. Cassandra will take over." Within 4 days, everything I built was in flames. 16 years of loyalty erased in 16 seconds. If you are watching this right now, I would love to know where you are tuning in from. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to follow my journey from rock bottom to redemption. Trust me, you will want to see how a billion-dollar company imploded in a single weekend. I grew up in Millfield, Ohio, a town so small that our welcome sign proudly displayed a population of 3,428. My father worked at the local manufacturing plant, and my mother taught 5th grade science. They were good, hardworking people who instilled in me a love for building things. By age 10, I was taking apart every electronic device in our house. By 14, I was rebuilding them better than before. When I got accepted to Carnegie Mellon University on a partial scholarship, my parents cried. They remortgaged our house to help cover what the scholarship did not. I was one of 17 women in my engineering program of 150 students. The pressure was immense, not just to succeed, but to prove I belonged there. I pulled all-nighters, tutored other students for extra money, and graduated second in my class. Tech Dynamics recruited me straight out of college. Back then, it was a scrappy startup with 20 employees working out of a converted warehouse. The pay was terrible, but they offered something priceless: freedom to create. My supervisor, Robert, took me under his wing. He taught me everything from coding architecture to navigating office politics. When he retired 5 years later, I stepped into his role as the youngest team lead in company history. Those early years were tough. We were burning through our initial funding with no profitable product in sight. Competitors were bigger, faster, and better funded. During our 3rd year, we nearly went bankrupt. The board was considering selling off our patents and closing shop. That is when I had my breakthrough. I had been working on a cybersecurity system that could detect intrusion patterns before they became threats. Everyone said it was impossible, but I refused to give up. For 6 months, I practically lived in the office, sleeping on a cot beside my desk. My relationship with my boyfriend Tom fell apart. He gave me an ultimatum: him or the job. I chose Tech Dynamics. The sacrifice paid off. My system worked. We called it Sentinel, and it revolutionized how companies protected their data. Within 18 months, we went from near bankruptcy to profitability. 2 years later, we had contracts with 6 Fortune 500 companies. Tech Dynamics grew from 20 employees to over 300. Marcus Bennett, who had been our business development director, became CEO. As the company expanded, so did my responsibilities. I missed my cousin Katie's wedding to fix a critical bug. I postponed surgery for a gallbladder issue because we were in the middle of a major product launch. When my father had his heart attack, I flew home for 2 days, then returned to work with my laptop open beside his hospital bed. My mother never forgave me for that, but I told myself it was necessary. The company needed me. My team became my family. 80 engineers who looked to me for guidance. We celebrated birthdays together, helped each other move apartments, attended funerals for parents. I knew their spouses' names, their children's ages, their food allergies. And they knew that when I asked for something impossible, I would be right there with them, working impossible hours to achieve it. For 16 years, I poured everything into Tech Dynamics. My youth, my health, my personal life. I developed migraines from stress and eye strain. I gained 30 pounds from desk work and takeout meals. My apartment was just a place to shower and change clothes. But none of that mattered because I was building something that mattered. 2 years ago, the government approached us about implementing Sentinel across multiple federal agencies. This would be our biggest contract ever, $1.7 billion over 5 years. The security requirements were staggering, the competition fierce. 7 companies were vying for the contract, including industry giants with decades more experience than us. For 24 months, I led our team through the proposal process. We submitted thousands of pages of documentation. We built prototypes, ran simulations, prepared presentations. I rehearsed our final pitch so many times I could recite it backward. The morning of the presentation, I threw up from nerves, then put on my suit and delivered a flawless 2-hour demonstration to a panel of 20 government officials. When we won the contract, Marcus threw a massive celebration at the Four Seasons Hotel. 800 employees drinking champagne, dancing to a live band. I should have been ecstatic, but I was too exhausted to enjoy it. I stood in a corner sipping water when Marcus approached, with a woman I had never seen before. Her name was Cassandra Winters. She was stunning, tall and slender, with flowing blonde hair and perfect makeup. Maybe 27 years old, though it was hard to tell. She clung to Marcus's arm, laughing at everything he said. He introduced her as a new marketing consultant, but the way his hand rested on her lower back told a different story. I thought nothing of it at the time. Marcus was recently divorced, entitled to his personal life, but looking back, that night was the beginning of the end. Over the next few weeks, strange things started happening. Marcus canceled our regular strategy meetings. Emails went unanswered. Decisions that previously required my input were made without me. When I asked about the changes, I was told there was a new organizational structure being developed, just temporary growing pains as we prepared to implement the government contract. I believed him. After 16 years, thousands of late nights, and countless sacrifices, why would I not? I had saved the company from bankruptcy, built its flagship product, and secured its largest contract. My name was on 27 patents. My team respected me. My place was secure. Or so I thought. It was a Monday morning when my world collapsed. I arrived early as usual, 6:30 a.m., coffee in hand, ready to start the implementation phase of our government contract. At 7:15, I received an email from Marcus's assistant requesting my immediate presence in the main conference room for an emergency leadership meeting at 8. The timing was odd. We had no meeting scheduled, and several key team members were out visiting the client site. Still, emergencies happened in our business. I spent the next 45 minutes reviewing our project timeline, making notes of potential issues we might need to address. When I entered the conference room, Marcus was already there with 3 board members and Cassandra. She wore a conservative navy suit that still managed to accentuate every curve. I noticed she had a company badge. Not a visitor pass, but a full employee ID with security clearance. The room filled quickly with department heads and senior managers. Several shot me confused, looks clearly as unaware of the meeting's purpose as I was. Finally, at 8:05, Marcus called for attention. He stood at the head of the table, Cassandra by his side. Thank you all for coming on short notice. We have an important announcement that affects our organizational structure moving forward. My phone buzzed with messages from team members asking if I knew what was happening. I silenced it, focusing on Marcus. As you know, the government contract represents a new chapter for Tech Dynamics. It requires fresh thinking, innovative approaches, and strategic vision that aligns with where technology is heading, not where it has been. A knot formed in my stomach. Corporate speak for change was coming. To that end, the board and I have decided to create a new position, Strategic Innovation Lead. This role will oversee all aspects of the government implementation and report directly to me. My confusion deepened. That was essentially my current role. I am pleased to introduce Cassandra Winters, who will be stepping into this position effective immediately. The room went silent. All eyes shifted between Marcus, Cassandra, and me. My throat tightened as Marcus continued. Cassandra brings a wealth of fresh perspectives and strategic connections that will be invaluable as we navigate this new territory. I found my voice. Excuse me, Marcus. I am not sure I understand. The government contract is already under my direction as lead engineer. My team has been preparing for implementation for months. Marcus fixed me with a cold stare I had never seen before. Nova, after the meeting, I need you to transition all project materials to Cassandra. You are done here. Cassandra will take over. The words hit like physical blows. 16 years reduced to 9 words. You are done here. Cassandra will take over. I felt heat rising in my face but forced my expression to remain neutral. 16 years of corporate politics had taught me one thing: never show weakness in the boardroom. I see, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. And may I ask what role I will be transitioning to? Marcus glanced at a board member, then back to me. You will be moved to Legacy Systems Consultant. You will report to Alan in IT Operations. Legacy Systems Consultant. A meaningless title. and Alan was 15 years my junior, someone I had personally hired and trained. The demotion could not have been more obvious or humiliating. Around the table, reactions varied. Some looked shocked, others uncomfortable. A few seemed almost satisfied competitors who had lived in my shadow for years. My loyal team members, the few present, stared in open-mouthed disbelief. James from legal cleared his throat. Marcus, given Nova's extensive knowledge of the Sentinel architecture and her leadership in securing the government contract, perhaps we should consider. Marcus cut him off. The decision is final. We need to embrace change to move forward. He nodded to Cassandra. Would you like to say a few words? Cassandra stepped forward with practiced grace. I am so excited to join the Tech Dynamics family. While I know I have big shoes to fill, I believe my background in strategic market positioning and technological innovation will bring fresh energy to this project. I look forward to working with all of you. Technological innovation. What technological innovation? As far as I knew, she was a marketing consultant. I raised my hand, professional to the end. Cassandra, congratulations on your new role. Could you share a bit about your background in cybersecurity architecture? The government implementation has some unique challenges that took our team months to understand. Her smile never wavered. Of course, I understand your concern. Rest assured, I have been thoroughly briefed on the technical aspects. My strength is seeing the bigger picture and bringing diverse elements together. I will rely on your talented team for the technical details. In other words, she had no relevant experience whatsoever. Marcus ended the meeting shortly after instructing me to proceed to HR to process my reassignment paperwork. As people filed out, several of my team members approached, faces tight with concern. This is insane, whispered Raj, my senior architect. She knows nothing about our systems. We will talk later, I murmured. For now, act normal. Do not do anything rash. The walk to HR was the longest of my life. Employees watched as I passed news of my demotion, already spreading through message channels. 16 years of respect eroding with each step. The HR director, Patty, could barely meet my eyes as she presented the paperwork. I am sorry, Nova. This came from above. There was nothing I could do. What exactly is her background? I asked, signing where indicated. What qualifies Cassandra for this position? Patty hesitated, then pulled up a file on her computer. She has a bachelor's degree in marketing from State University. She worked for Tech Today magazine as a product model for 3 years, then as a marketing consultant for various technology firms. A model turned marketing consultant, now suddenly in charge of a $1.7 billion government cybersecurity implementation. It made no sense. Is she qualified for security clearance? The government contract requires everyone at leadership level to have at least preliminary approval. Her paperwork is being expedited, Patty said, not meeting my eyes. By afternoon, I had been relocated to a windowless office in the IT support section. My belongings arrived in cardboard boxes delivered by an uncomfortable-looking facilities manager. My new role came with a 40% reduction in salary and removal from the executive bonus structure. But the true shock came when I tried to access the project files. My permissions had been completely revoked. 16 years of work. Hundreds of thousands of files instantly inaccessible. When I called IT security, they informed me that Cassandra now had full administrator access to all systems, including the proprietary code repositories. Something was very wrong. Even our most senior engineers did not receive that level of access without months of security protocols. How had she received it within hours? As I was contemplating this, my phone lit up with a message from Alice, my administrative assistant for the past 5 years. They are cleaning out your office. Cassandra is having everything moved to storage. She says she wants a fresh start, no reminders of the past. 16 years erased in a single day. My new office was more of a storage closet with a desk. The overhead fluorescent light buzzed constantly, giving me a headache by noon each day. My new role came with no team, no projects, and no clear responsibilities. I was essentially being paid to do nothing, a humiliating limbo before they found legal grounds to terminate me completely. I spent the first day organizing my personal files and responding to concerned messages from team members. I advised them all the same way. Remain professional. Do your jobs and wait to see how things develop. Many wanted to protest or resign in solidarity, but I discouraged this. They had mortgages, families, responsibilities. Besides, walking out would only hurt the projects and clients we had worked so hard to serve. By Wednesday, troubling reports began filtering back to me. Cassandra had called an all-hands meeting with the engineering department, where she announced sweeping changes to our system architecture. According to Raj, who texted me discreetly during the meeting, she was pushing to rebuild significant portions of the Sentinel core using an unproven framework. She wants to replace our encryption modules with something called Quick Crypt, he wrote. None of us have heard of it. When asked, she said it is cutting-edge technology from Europe that will streamline the implementation. This made no technical sense. Our encryption modules had been vetted by government security experts and represented thousands of hours of development and testing. Replacing them would set the project back months and introduce unknown risks. Later that afternoon, I overheard Cassandra on a conference call with investors in the break room. She had left the door open, her voice carrying down the hallway. Yes, the transition is going smoothly. The previous architecture was outdated, built on legacy thinking. My approach will accelerate deployment by 30% and increase security metrics across all parameters. She was taking credit for my work while simultaneously dismantling it. The casual confidence with which she spouted technical jargon she clearly did not understand was breathtaking. More concerning was that no one on the call seemed to question her expertise. That evening, I drafted a careful email to Marcus. I kept it professional, focusing only on the technical risks of the proposed changes. I included documentation showing why our current approach had been selected and the potential security implications of rushing architectural changes without proper testing. I emphasized that I was only concerned with the success of the project and the company's reputation. His response came at 11:30 p.m. Clearly angry, Nova. Your resistance to necessary innovation is exactly why we needed fresh perspectives. Cassandra has my complete confidence. If you continue undermining her leadership, we will have to reconsider your position at Tech Dynamics entirely. This is your only warning. I stared at my screen in disbelief. In 16 years, Marcus had never spoken to me that way. We had disagreed plenty of times, had heated debates about technical directions, but always with mutual respect. This felt like I was communicating with a stranger. Thursday brought more disturbing developments. Lisa from the security team, someone I had mentored for years, came to my sad little office during lunch. I should not be here, she said, closing the door, but something weird is happening. Cassandra has been downloading massive amounts of code repositories, including parts of the system that have nothing to do with the government project. What parts specifically, I asked. Everything. The entire Sentinel codebase, all customer implementation documents, even the experimental projects from the Innovation Lab. She's copying it all to external drives. When I flagged it to my manager as unusual activity, he told me it was authorized by Marcus, and to ignore it. A chill ran through me. No one should be mass downloading our intellectual property, especially not someone who had been with the company less than a week. That night, unable to sleep, I logged in remotely using my reduced credentials. While I could no longer access most systems, I could still view general network traffic patterns, a legacy permission that IT had apparently forgotten to revoke. What I saw alarmed me. Large data transfers were occurring from our secure servers to an unknown external IP address. The transfers were happening during off hours, systematically moving through our most valuable intellectual property. Someone was extracting the heart of Tech Dynamics one file at a time. Friday morning, the first true consequences became visible. I received a text from James in Legal 3 government project managers requesting emergency meeting. They are concerned about security protocol changes. Marcus blaming implementation team. Thought you should know. 3 hours later, the official announcement came through company email. 2 of the 3 government agencies had placed their contracts on hold pending security review. The third was considering complete withdrawal. The stock price dropped 15% within hours. Instead of addressing the real issues, management found their scapegoat me. At the emergency all-staff meeting, Cassandra stood beside Marcus, the picture of concerned leadership. The challenges we are facing stem from fundamental flaws in the legacy code architecture, she announced to hundreds of confused employees. Unfortunately, the previous leadership was resistant to necessary modernization. We are working diligently to correct these issues and restore our government partners' confidence. I sat in the back of the room, feeling hundreds of eyes turned toward me. 16 years of reputation shredded in seconds. Former colleagues who had celebrated with me a week earlier now looked at me with doubt or outright disdain. The narrative was being rewritten, casting me as the incompetent engineer whose outdated thinking had endangered the company's future. As the meeting concluded, I noticed even my most loyal team members keeping their distance. Only Raj risked a quick supportive nod as he passed. I understood their caution. In the span of 5 days, I had gone from respected leader to cautionary tale. No one wanted to be associated with my downfall. The final betrayal came that evening. My company phone buzzed with a calendar invitation. Monday morning, 9 a.m. Meeting with Marcus and HR. The subject line read simply, Employment Status Review. The message was clear. I was about to be fired. Saturday morning, I woke to an email from an address I did not recognize. The subject line read, What you need to know about Cassandra Winters. There was no message, just an attachment. Normally, I would never open an anonymous attachment, but desperation overrode caution. Inside was a dossier on Cassandra Winters, including photos of her meeting with executives from Meridian Technologies, our biggest competitor. The document showed Cassandra had worked as a corporate consultant for 3 other technology companies over the past 5 years. In each case, she had become romantically involved with a key executive, gained access to proprietary information, and left abruptly. Within months of her departure, each company had experienced significant data breaches or lost major contracts to competitors. My hands shook as I scrolled through the evidence. This was not just about my job or wounded pride. This was corporate espionage. I spent the next hours reviewing the system logs I still had access to now with new understanding. What I found confirmed my worst fears. The architectural changes Cassandra was implementing were creating deliberate backdoors in our security system. The external IP receiving our data belonged to a server farm in a country known for industrial espionage. Cassandra was not just incompetent, she was deliberately sabotaging tech dynamics. By noon, I had compiled enough evidence to warrant an investigation. I called Marcus, who surprisingly answered, Nova, this better be important. It is Saturday. It is about Cassandra, I said. I have evidence she is working for Meridian Technologies. She is systematically stealing our intellectual property and sabotaging the government contracts. His laugh was cold. Jealousy is beneath you, Nova. Cassandra warned me you might try something like this. She said failed executives often create conspiracy theories to explain their replacement. Marcus, look at the evidence. I am sending it now. The system logs clearly show. Enough, he snapped. I do not want to hear your fabrications. Cassandra has brought vision and connections this company desperately needed. Your inability to accept change is why you are being left behind. This is not about me, I insisted. The architectural changes she is implementing are creating security vulnerabilities. At least have the security team verify. We are done here. I will see you Monday morning to formalize your separation from Tech Dynamics. He hung up. I sat staring at my phone, trying to understand how 16 years of trust could evaporate so completely. The Marcus I knew was sharp, level-headed, and fiercely protective of the company. This version was blind to obvious threats and dismissive of clear evidence. What hold did Cassandra have over him? At 11:47 p.m., my phone rang, jolting me from restless sleep. It was Alice, my former assistant, her voice tight with panic. Nova, something terrible is happening. The primary servers just went offline. The backup systems are failing sequentially. Everything is crashing. I sat up, instantly alert. Where are you? At the office. Half the engineering team got emergency alerts. Raj is trying to contain the damage, but he says it looks like a coordinated attack. Marcus is unreachable. Cassandra claims she is working remotely, but no one can verify what she is doing. I'm coming in, I said, already pulling on clothes. You do not have clearance anymore, Alice reminded me. Badge me in through the side entrance. This is not about my job now. This is about saving the company. 30 minutes later, I entered the chaos of our operations center. Screens displayed cascading failure notifications. Engineers worked frantically at terminals, their faces illuminated by red warning messages. Raj spotted me and rushed over. Thank God you are here. It is a systematic compromise. Someone activated a script that is methodically destroying security partitions. Client data is being exposed, then corrupted. It started with the government contract servers. I moved to a terminal muscle memory taking over. Give me admin access. A junior engineer looked uncertain. We are not authorized. Raj overrode him. Do it. She built these systems. She is our best chance. With restored access, the situation became clear immediately. This was not a random attack or system failure. This was a precisely targeted destruction of Tech Dynamics' most valuable assets, designed to look like a catastrophic security failure. The government contract systems were being deliberately corrupted in ways that would violate every security protocol. Who deployed the architectural changes Cassandra proposed, I asked. Implementation started yesterday evening, Raj said. She had Marcus sign off on emergency deployment protocols, bypassed all standard testing procedures. As we worked through the night to contain the damage, 3 emails arrived from our government clients. All 3 were terminating their contracts due to critical security breaches. $1.7 billion gone. By 6 a.m. Sunday, we had managed to isolate the attack and prevent complete system destruction, but the damage was done. The stock price would plummet when markets opened Monday. Client trust was shattered. The company I had helped build for 16 years was mortally wounded. And I was still scheduled to be fired in 24 hours. At 9:30 a.m., as exhausted engineers continued recovery efforts, the final blow came. Marcus arrived looking haggard and disoriented. He surveyed the crisis operations, spotted me at a terminal, and his face hardened. What is she doing here? She does not have clearance. Raj stepped forward. We needed her expertise to contain the breach. Marcus's eyes narrowed. What breach? Cassandra said it was a planned system migration that triggered some alerts. The room fell silent. Engineers exchanged incredulous looks. The displays clearly showed critical system failures across the infrastructure. Marcus, I said carefully, this was a deliberate attack. The architectural changes Cassandra implemented created vulnerabilities that were exploited last night. All 3 government contracts have been terminated. We have lost access to significant portions of our proprietary code. For a moment, doubt flickered across his face. Then his phone buzzed. He checked the message, and his expression hardened again. Cassandra says you are manipulating the situation to make her look bad. She has evidence you planted this attack yourself, as revenge for being replaced. The accusation was so absurd I could only stare in shock. Around me, engineers who had witnessed my all-night effort to save the systems looked equally stunned. Marcus pointed at me. Security will escort you out. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. We will be pursuing legal action for corporate sabotage. As security guards approached, Raj stood between them and me. This is wrong, Marcus. Nova just spent 12 hours saving what she could of our systems. The logs clearly show the attack originated from Cassandra's authorized changes. The logs can be manipulated, Marcus said dismissively. Cassandra warned me Nova might try something like this. She has been planning this sabotage since she learned of her reassignment. As the guards took my arms, the full weight of the injustice crashed down on me. 16 years of loyalty rewarded with false accusations and public humiliation. The company I had helped build was collapsing, and I was being blamed for its destruction. My final glimpse as the doors closed was of my former team watching in silent disbelief as I was marched out like a criminal. Sunday night was the darkest of my life. I sat alone in my apartment, surrounded by the few personal items I had kept in my office now returned to me in cardboard boxes. 16 years reduced to 3 boxes and a potted plant. The shock had given way to a hollow emptiness. Not just the loss of my job, but the destruction of my professional identity. For so long I had been Nova Spencer lead engineer at Tech Dynamics. Now, who was I? I checked my emails compulsively, hoping for support from former colleagues or interest from other companies. My inbox remained eerily empty. Word travels fast in the tech industry. Being escorted out by security under accusations of corporate sabotage was career suicide. No one would touch me now. The few recruiters who had been persistently courting me for years suddenly went silent. LinkedIn connections were quietly broken. Former industry friends stopped responding to texts. In the span of a week, I had become radioactive. Monday morning, I watched from my laptop as Tech Dynamics stock plunged 30% at market open. Financial news sites reported on the catastrophic security failure and loss of government contracts. Several quoted an unnamed company spokesperson placing blame on legacy architecture decisions and resistance to necessary modernization. They were systematically erasing my contributions while blaming me for the collapse. 16 years of innovation and dedication rewritten as incompetence and sabotage. Depression settled over me like a physical weight. I could barely find the energy to make coffee. Sleep came in short, fitful bursts interrupted by stress dreams, where I tried and failed to warn people about impending disasters. My appetite vanished. The future stretched before me, bleak and uncertain. What company would hire an engineer accused of sabotaging her former employer? What reference could I use after 16 years at the same company? My identity, reputation, and career had been built entirely within the walls of Tech Dynamics. Without that foundation, everything was crumbling. Tuesday afternoon, an unexpected knock at my door roused me from my stupor. I opened it to find Raj, Lisa, and Alice standing there looking nervous but determined. "We cannot stay long," Raj said as I let them in. "We told security we were taking late lunches." "Should you be here?" I asked. "You could lose your jobs." "They are firing people anyway," Lisa said bitterly. "Cost-cutting measures after losing the government contracts. Half the security team got notice this morning." Alice placed a flash drive on my coffee table. "You need to see this. We have been gathering evidence since you left." The drive contained internal communications system logs and security footage. Cassandra's sabotage was methodical and comprehensive. She had systematically copied our intellectual property while implementing changes that created vulnerabilities. The timestamps aligned perfectly with meetings she had with Meridian Technologies executives. "There is more," Raj said grimly. "We found evidence she has compromising information on Marcus. Photos from a company retreat last month. He appears intoxicated in situations that would violate multiple corporate policies." "Blackmail," I murmured. That explained his uncharacteristic behavior and blind loyalty. "What are you going to do?" Alice asked. "File a wrongful termination lawsuit." I stared at the evidence before me, a moral dilemma crystallizing. I could walk away, try to rebuild my life and career elsewhere. Many would consider that the sensible choice. Tech Dynamics had discarded me without hesitation. Why should I care about its fate? But this was bigger than my wounded pride or lost career. The government contracts represented critical national infrastructure security. Meridian Technologies had concerning connections to foreign entities hostile to American interests. This was not just corporate espionage, it potentially threatened national security. And there were hundreds of employees at Tech Dynamics, good people with families and mortgages, whose livelihoods were at risk because of Cassandra's actions. Walking away meant abandoning them too. "No lawsuit," I said finally. "Not yet, anyway. First, we need to expose what Cassandra is really doing and who she is working for." "How?" Lisa asked. "Marcus will not listen. The board trusts him. We are just employees without authority." I felt something shift inside me, a clarity emerging from the emotional chaos of recent days. For too long, I had defined myself by my title and position within the corporate hierarchy. Now stripped of those external validations, I could act based solely on what was right. "We need to document everything I said," energy returning to my voice. "Every file transfer, every code change, every communication with Meridian. We need irrefutable evidence that will stand up to legal scrutiny." "The company's security systems," Raj began, "are compromised," I finished. "But I built backdoor monitoring protocols into the original architecture. Emergency systems designed to track unusual activity, even if primary security was compromised. If Cassandra has not found and disabled them, we can use them to track her actions in real time." For the first time in days, I felt a sense of purpose. This was no longer about saving my job or reputation. This was about protecting 16 years of innovation, hundreds of jobs, and potentially national security interests. "It will be dangerous," I warned them. "If you are caught helping me, you will certainly be fired, possibly worse." The three exchanged looks, then Raj spoke. We are already at risk. And this is wrong. We cannot just watch as everything we built is stolen and destroyed. We transformed my apartment into an impromptu command center. Laptops connected to secure networks, printouts of code and system architecture, taped to walls timelines of Cassandra's activities constructed from security logs and witness accounts. We worked through the night fueled by coffee and righteous indignation. By Wednesday morning, we had assembled compelling evidence of coordinated corporate espionage. The final piece was tracking the destination of the stolen data and documenting the deliberate sabotage of the government contract systems. We need to let the final phase play out, I said, reviewing our findings. If we move too soon, she will deny everything and destroy evidence. We need to catch her in the act of transferring the core encryption algorithms. Those are scheduled for implementation review on Sunday night, Raj said. Based on her pattern, she will likely extract them immediately after gaining access. Then we have 4 days to prepare, I said. We need to alert the proper authorities without tipping her off. And we need irrefutable evidence that will convince even Marcus. The path forward was clear, but fraught with risk. We were 4 individuals going against a sophisticated corporate spy with the full resources and authority of Tech Dynamics behind her. One wrong move and we would lose everything. But for the first time since my world collapsed, I felt a flicker of hope, not just for justice or redemption, but for the possibility that something meaningful might emerge from this crisis. That 16 years of work might not end in disgrace and destruction after all. As my impromptu team left to return to their jobs, maintaining the pretense of normalcy, I began drafting a careful message to contacts at the FBI Cybersecurity Division. This was no longer just about me, or even Tech Dynamics. Some lines, once crossed, demanded a response regardless of personal cost. The next 4 days were a blur of clandestine activity. My apartment became command central for our small resistance. Raj, Lisa, and Alice took turns slipping away from work to share updates and help coordinate our efforts. 2 other trusted engineers joined our group, providing crucial access to systems I could no longer reach directly. Using my backdoor administrative access, we established a secure monitoring system that tracked and documented Cassandra's activities without detection. Every file she accessed, every change she implemented, every external transmission was logged and timestamped. The evidence was damning. She was systematically copying our most valuable intellectual property while implementing changes that created security vulnerabilities. The destination of the stolen data confirmed our suspicions. The external server belonged to a shell company that, through several layers of corporate obfuscation, connected directly to Meridian Technologies, our largest competitor. Further research revealed that Meridian had recently secured significant funding from investors with questionable connections to foreign governments hostile to American interests. This was much bigger than corporate competition or my personal grievance. The cybersecurity systems being compromised protected critical government infrastructure. If Meridian sold this technology to certain foreign entities, the national security implications would be severe. On Thursday, I made contact with Special Agent Rebecca Torres at the FBI Cyber Division. Her initial skepticism quickly gave way to serious concern as I presented our preliminary evidence. This would constitute not just corporate espionage, but potentially espionage against the United States government, she said, reviewing the documentation. We need to move carefully here. If she is working for who you suspect, tipping our hand too early could result in evidence destruction or her disappearance. We agreed on a coordinated approach. The FBI would quietly investigate Meridian Technologies and prepare the necessary warrants while we continued monitoring Cassandra's activities at Tech Dynamics. The critical moment would come Sunday night when she attempted to extract the core encryption algorithms. Meanwhile, I reached out to Samuel Johnson, our primary government contract manager. We had worked together throughout the bidding process and established mutual respect. I carefully explained the situation without making accusations I could not yet prove. The system failures were not random or due to architectural flaws, I told him. We have reason to believe they were deliberate sabotage by someone who gained inappropriate access. I am working with relevant authorities to address the situation. Samuel was understandably cautious but agreed to temporarily hold the final contract termination paperwork. You have 48 hours, Nova. After that, we have to proceed with alternative vendors for national security reasons. While we monitored Cassandra's activities, another disturbing pattern emerged. She was systematically isolating Marcus from other executives and board members. His calendar showed canceled meetings with longtime colleagues replaced by private sessions with Cassandra. The few times he appeared in the office, he looked haggard and disoriented, almost like a different person. "She has something serious on him," Alice reported, after observing a tense interaction between them. "He flinches when she touches his arm. This is not just a CEO blinded by attraction. He looks afraid." The evidence on the flash drive supported this assessment. The compromising photos from the company retreat showed Marcus in situations that could destroy his career and marriage. In several images, he appeared barely conscious while Cassandra arranged the scene around him. Classic blackmail setup. By Saturday, our monitoring showed Cassandra preparing for her endgame. She had scheduled system maintenance for Sunday evening, creating the perfect cover to access and extract the core encryption algorithms. According to her calendar, she had a meeting with Meridian Technologies executives Monday morning, ostensibly about partnership opportunities. "This is it," I told our team during our final planning session. "Tomorrow night she will attempt to transfer the encryption cores. Once she does, we have her on multiple federal crimes." Agent Torres confirmed the FBI was ready. "We have agents prepared to move on both Tech Dynamics and Meridian offices simultaneously. We need indisputable evidence of the actual transfer to secure conviction." Sunday crawled by with excruciating slowness. I checked and rechecked our monitoring systems, rehearsed my part in the operation, and tried to manage my anxiety with limited success. By evening, our team was in position. Raj and Lisa were on site at Tech Dynamics, ostensibly working overtime on routine maintenance. The others monitored remotely while I prepared to enter the building at the critical moment. At 8:23 p.m., our monitoring system alerted us. Cassandra had logged into the secure development environment and begun the process of extracting the encryption core. We watched in real time as she bypassed security protocols using Marcus's executive credentials. "She is copying the files now," Raj reported via our secure channel, transferring to an external drive and simultaneously uploading to the Meridian server. Agent Torres gave the signal. "We have enough. Moving in now." I drove to Tech Dynamics, heart pounding. After a week of exile, returning felt surreal. Alice met me at the side entrance, badge ready. "FBI agents are already inside," she whispered. "Cassandra is in the executive conference room with Marcus. She does not know what is happening yet." We took the elevator to the executive floor. As the doors opened, I saw several agents in FBI jackets securing the area. Agent Torres nodded to me as we approached the conference room. "Ready?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "Ready." She pushed open the door. Inside, Marcus and Cassandra sat at the long table surrounded by more agents. Marcus looked shell-shocked. Cassandra maintained her composure, though her eyes widened slightly at my appearance. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded. "This is a private corporate meeting." Agent Torres placed a folder on the table. "Cassandra Winters, we have evidence you have engaged in corporate espionage, theft of intellectual property, and actions that may constitute espionage against the United States government." Cassandra laughed dismissively. "That is absurd. Marcus, call company counsel immediately." Marcus seemed unable to speak, staring blankly at the table. I stepped forward. "We have documented every file transfer, every code alteration, and every communication with Meridian Technologies. The evidence is irrefutable." Raj entered, laptop in hand. "The transfers are complete. We captured everything, including the transmission to Meridian servers that completed 3 minutes ago." For the first time, Cassandra's confident facade cracked. She glanced at the door, calculating. "Do not," Agent Torres warned, noting her expression. "Agents are stationed at all exits." Cassandra's demeanor changed instantly. She stood smoothing her skirt with practiced calm. "This is clearly a misunderstanding. I was authorized to review these files as part of my duties." "Including sending them to Meridian Technologies?" I asked. "Including deliberately creating security vulnerabilities that compromised government contracts." "Marcus approved all my activities," she said coldly. "Tell them, Marcus." All eyes turned to the CEO. He finally looked up, his expression a mixture of shame and relief. I did not know what she was really doing. "She had photos. She said they were just system improvements." Cassandra's composure finally shattered. She lunged for her laptop, but an agent intercepted her. As they secured her, she fixed me with a venomous glare. You were supposed to be finished. How did you access the monitoring systems? I removed all your permissions. I allowed myself a small smile. You found the front door, but I built the house. There are pathways you never discovered. As agents led Cassandra away, Marcus buried his face in his hands. Nova, I do not know what to say. The things I said to you, how I treated you after 16 years. We will address that later, I said, not yet ready to absolve him. Right now we need to focus on damage control. The government contracts the stolen intellectual property, the company's future. Agent Torres approached. We will need detailed statements from everyone involved. Meridian executives are being questioned as we speak. This will be a complex investigation. As the initial chaos settled, I looked around the executive conference room where just 1 week earlier my 16-year career had seemingly ended. Now I stood amid federal agents exposed a corporate spy and potentially saved the company I had helped build from destruction. The journey from despair to this moment had been brutal. But standing here now, I felt something unexpected: gratitude. This crisis had stripped away pretense and revealed what truly mattered. It had shown me my own strength and the loyalty of true colleagues. It had forced me to act based on principles rather than position. Whatever came next would be built on a foundation of truth, not titles or corporate hierarchies. For the first time in 16 years, I felt truly free. The week following Cassandra's arrest was a whirlwind of federal investigations, emergency board meetings, and frantic damage control efforts. I found myself in the surreal position of having no official role at Tech Dynamics while being central to its survival efforts. The full extent of Cassandra's espionage became clear as the FBI investigation progressed. She had worked for not just Meridian Technologies but an entire network of corporate spies targeting American technology companies. Her pattern was consistent: seduce key executives, gain access to proprietary information, sabotage client relationships, then move to the next target. Tech Dynamics was her most ambitious operation, likely due to our government contracts. Marcus resigned in disgrace 3 days after her arrest. The board issued a public statement acknowledging catastrophic leadership failures and apologizing to shareholders, employees, and clients. The stock had lost 40% of its value, and 3 class action lawsuits were already in progress. In this leadership vacuum, the board made an unexpected decision. They appointed me interim chief technology officer with emergency powers to stabilize the company. The chairman called personally to deliver the news. We recognize the grave injustice done to you, he said. But more importantly, you have demonstrated extraordinary loyalty and capability under the most challenging circumstances. The company needs you, Nova. Perhaps more than ever before. My first instinct was to refuse. After how I had been treated, why should I help save Tech Dynamics? But this was larger than my wounded pride. Hundreds of employees depended on the company for their livelihoods. Clients relied on our systems for critical operations, and 16 years of my life were invested in what we had built. I will accept on 3 conditions, I told the chairman. First, Raj, Lisa, Alice, and everyone who helped expose Cassandra must be protected and appropriately rewarded. Second, I want complete autonomy to rebuild the security architecture and management structure. And third, when stability is restored, the board will conduct a full review of corporate governance and implement safeguards against similar failures in the future. The chairman agreed without hesitation. By that afternoon, I was back in the executive suite, this time with a corner office and expanded authority. The symbolism was not lost on anyone. My first priority was rebuilding trust with our government clients. I personally met with Samuel Johnson and his team, walking them through the sabotage and our remediation plans. I provided complete transparency about what had happened and took full responsibility for the path forward. We are not asking for special treatment, I told them, only the opportunity to demonstrate that the company you originally chose still exists beneath the recent chaos. Samuel was professional but direct. Trust is earned, Nova. We can pause the contract terminations for 30 days while you implement your security overhaul. After that, we will conduct a comprehensive review before making any long-term decisions. It was a small opening, but all we needed. I assembled a crisis response team of our best engineers, many working around the clock to rebuild compromised systems. We scrubbed every line of code Cassandra had touched, implemented enhanced security protocols, and created new monitoring systems with multiple layers of oversight. The corporate culture required equally urgent attention. Years of hierarchical leadership had created an environment where a single compromised executive could cause catastrophic damage. I instituted new collaborative decision-making processes, transparency requirements for all executive actions, and multiple approval paths for critical system changes. Most importantly, I worked to rebuild the human connections damaged by recent events. Many employees felt betrayed either by the leadership failures or by colleagues who had abandoned principles under pressure. Healing these wounds required more than policy changes. It demanded authentic leadership and a new vision for our future. We have survived the greatest challenge in our company's history, I told the assembled staff 3 weeks after Cassandra's arrest. Not because of executive decisions or corporate policies, but because individuals chose integrity over expediency. This is the foundation we will build upon moving forward. The transformation was neither quick nor easy. Some employees left unwilling to rebuild from the ashes. Several executives retired rather than adapt to the new culture of accountability. The stock price remained depressed, and financial challenges loomed as legal costs mounted. But gradually, tangibly, improvement came. The government clients extended their review period, impressed by our transparency and progress. 2 major private sector clients who had paused their contracts cautiously returned. The engineering team, energized by a culture that finally valued their expertise, produced innovative solutions to long-standing challenges. 6 months after the crisis, the board removed the interim from my title, confirming me as permanent CTO. They offered the CEO position as well, but I declined. The crisis had taught me valuable lessons about the role I wanted to play and the legacy I hoped to build. I am an engineer at heart, I told them. My value is in building systems and teams, not managing investor expectations or corporate politics. Find a CEO who shares our values but brings complementary skills. They ultimately selected Diane Richardson, a respected industry veteran known for ethical leadership and collaborative management. We formed an effective partnership, combining her business acumen with my technical expertise and institutional knowledge. The greatest personal challenge was finding balance in my new role. For 16 years, I had defined myself entirely through work, sacrificing health, relationships, and joy for professional achievement. The crisis forced me to confront the emptiness of that bargain. I implemented strict work-hour limitations for myself and my team. I reconnected with my family, rebuilding the relationship with my mother that had suffered from years of missed holidays and abbreviated visits. I started dating again, this time with the perspective to recognize that no career achievement could replace human connection. Professionally, I focused on building systems and teams that did not depend on any irreplaceable individual, including me. The hero culture that had prevailed at Tech Dynamics, where key employees worked impossible hours and held critical knowledge in their heads, had created dangerous vulnerabilities. Our new approach emphasized documentation, knowledge sharing, and sustainable work practices. 1 year after Cassandra's arrest, we achieved a significant milestone. All 3 government contracts were fully reinstated. The celebration was meaningful but measured, acknowledging both how far we had come and how close we had come to complete destruction. As I looked around at the team that had weathered this storm together, I reflected on the profound lessons of the past year. I had learned that true value comes not from titles or external validation, but from integrity and purpose. That no company deserves blind loyalty, but principles always deserve steadfast defense. That vulnerability is not weakness, but the foundation of authentic strength and connection. Most importantly, I learned that rock bottom can become a solid foundation when you use it to build something authentic and aligned with your true values. The crisis that had seemed like the end of everything had actually been the beginning of something far more meaningful. These days, I leave the office by 6 p.m. most evenings. My team knows to contact me for true emergencies, but those are rare in our new culture of distributed expertise and shared responsibility. I have dinner with friends, take painting classes, and sleep without my phone beside the bed. My value as a person no longer depends on my constant availability or professional identity. This morning, I approved vacation time for 6 key engineers to attend a colleague's wedding. Years ago, I would have seen this as an operational risk. Today, I recognize it as an investment in the human connections that form our true security system. Have you ever experienced a professional betrayal that forced you to reconsider what really matters? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to follow more stories of resilience and redemption. Share with someone who might be facing their own rock bottom moment and needs to hear that it can become a foundation for something better. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and remember, your value was never in your title, but in the integrity you bring to every challenge.